Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 205 based on novel. So let's start. The surrounding blood sea was vast and magnificent. Luo Feng gazed ahead. Even though he could clearly sense the blood crane territory origin right in front of him, no observational method could detect it. Is it real, or is it an illusion? Luo Feng followed the mysterious fluctuations, delving deep into the enigmatic changes, gradually catching a glimpse of the blood crane territory origin. This origin, in terms of size, is tiny, smaller than any matter. Yet, in terms of influence, it radiates throughout the entire blood crane territory. Is this the blood crane territory origin? As he followed the mysterious changes, delving deeper, the enigmatic transformation of the entire blood crane territory origin gradually manifested in Luo Feng's mind. This was a more grandiose and complex structure than the source world origin. He's definitely probing the blood crane territory origin. From afar, Blood Lord, Crane Lord, and Shadow Lord saw this scene. Though it's not apparent to outsiders, they vaguely understood, this cultivator Lord Luo Feng must have already delved deep into the blood crane territory origin. His mastery of life direction surpasses mine, and he definitely can probe the blood crane territory origin. Blood Lord was rather unwilling. Are we just going to let him explore? Let him attempt to refine it. Shadow Lord couldn't help but say. Can you stop him? Crane Lord glanced at him. It's all because you provoked the cultivator camp. I have always said, do not provoke the three major camps. You insisted, bringing about such a big trouble. Shadow Lord also felt suppressed. Though his frontal combat skills are inferior, unable to stand against any lord from the cultivator side, he can transform into myriad forms, omnipresent, confident that the lords cannot kill him. Additionally, with the mysterious world of Blood Crane territory as his hometown, he naturally had the confidence. Who would have thought that Luo Feng started trying to probe and refine the Blood Crane territory origin? Let's take action and try. Blood Lord, watching with some agitation, couldn't help but say, try every possible method to see if we can stop him. Let's give it a go first. Although Crane Lord and Shadow Lord had little confidence, they really didn't want to see the Blood Crane territory origin refined and controlled by Luo Feng. Boom tilde 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 tilde. The blood sea surged once again, with Blood Lord, Crane Lord, and Shadow Lord merging into the blood sea, carrying the endless power of the blood sea, the three highest level forces coordinating to attack Luo Feng. They tried everything they could. However, among the three of them, the highest level powers they mastered were one of life, one of undying power, and one of shadow. They were all very strong in terms of self-preservation but weak in attacking the enemy. Really noisy. Luo Feng sat cross-legged, protected by a layer of protective energy, repelling all attacks around. Now that there was no need to rush, it was quite easy to resist. Even with the joint effort of the three lords of the Blood Crane territory and relying on the power of the Blood Sea, they could not break through Luo Feng's protective energy layer. Occasionally, the Crane Lord could barely penetrate the protective energy layer a bit, causing some superficial wounds. Go? Luo Feng let them attack at will, occasionally releasing 3.6 billion origins to let them taste what it's like to be attacked. Only after a brief moment of siege did the three lords of the Blood Crane territory stop. It's useless. Even if 30 to 50 ancestors of the innate primordial camp joined forces, they couldn't destroy Luo Feng. How could we possibly deal with him? Crane Lord looked unwillingly at the black-clothed, black-haired man sitting cross-legged. Luo Feng, in the core area of the Blood Crane territory, sat cross-legged in the blood sea, carefully probing the Blood Crane territory origin. The three lords of the Blood Crane territory could only watch helplessly. He only excels in the power of life. Blood Lord said, the Blood Crane territory origin contains three highest level forces. Merely comprehending one highest level force isn't enough to refine it. He comprehends the primordial level Tao, much more powerful than you, elder brother. Crane Lord said. Even if he is more formidable than me, merely mastering one force is still not enough to refine it. Blood Lord said. Right. Don't worry. Even after spending endless years, we three couldn't refine it. How could Lord Luo Feng possibly refine it? Besides, the cultivator camp has many affairs, and his main battle avatar couldn't possibly stay here indefinitely. Shadow Lord immediately said. Blood Lord and Crane Lord glanced at Shadow Lord. The encroachment of the cultivator territory was entirely Shadow Lord's unilateral decision. This Luo Feng, at this moment, Shadow Lord was a bit regretful. If he had known about the cultivator camp's communication, he would have retreated obediently, avoiding this trouble. If Luo Feng truly refined the Blood Crane territory, his responsibility would be enormous. After all, without his provocation, Cultivator Lord Luo Feng had just broken through and already had many affairs, so it was unlikely for him to invade the depths of the Blood Crane family territory without reason. Luo Feng sat cross-legged in the endless blood sea, a wisp of thought probing the Blood Crane territory origin. So, this is the full picture of the Blood Crane territory origin. After spending half a day, Luo Feng finally glimpsed the full picture of the origin. The Blood Crane territory origin, with a mystical perfect combination of life force, undying power, and shadow power, eventually transformed into a complete origin. How to form an origin? Luo Feng had already researched deeply before stepping out of the braided cage. The core of his primordial life and death Tao is the origin system, with 1.8 billion origins within his body. Although he didn't understand the undying power and shadow power, Luo Feng could distinguish the difference between the two. After half a day, he probed the method of combining the three forces into an origin. To refine the Blood Crane territory origin, one at least needs to perfectly master one of the highest level forces, and also understand how the three combine into an origin. Then, one can trace the vines to thoroughly refine the origin. Or, comprehend two of the highest level forces. Then the origin can be easily refined. Luo Feng determined the refinement plan. For me, the first path suits better. I already understand how the three combine into the origin. Now what I need is to fully master this one life force. Although Luo Feng comprehended the primordial life and death Tao, the blend of 7 parts life and 3 parts destruction did not constitute a pure life path. For Luo Feng, mastering this form of life power is not difficult. Before breaking free from the braided cage, Luo Feng's comprehension, mental processing speed, and insight were much weaker than they are now. Yet, he could still forcefully comprehend the primordial life and death Tao. Now, as a lord, the comprehension was still in the direction of life, which had the deepest accumulation, without needing to comprehend a complete primordial life Tao, but just a form of life power. One must know that when Luo Feng arrived at the Blood Crane territory, with just a slight perception, he had already glimpsed 70 to 80% of this life power. Pure life does not pursue the perfect control of every portion of power but seeks the ultimate bloom of life, the more, the better. It's not even in a physical form but transforms into a blood sea form, with an immensely large body. Luo Feng understood this path. This path, if I create a primordial level Tao. With this Tao constructing the physical body, the body can transform into a vast blood sea. The size of it is, perhaps, larger than the giant God Emperor. Naturally far surpassing Wulan. It could be considered the largest being in the endless primordial space. Majestic and grand. No matter how the enemies attack, the vast blood sea can dissipate a lot of power, and the energy reserve is even higher than Luo Feng's current one, with frightening energy recovery. Even if 100 ancestors join hands, they can't pose a threat. This is the power of a pure, primordial life Tao Lord. But the downside is, the size is too large, moving very slowly, and it's impossible to mobilize all the power to kill the enemy. Against enemies, only part of the blood sea can be mobilized. My primordial life and death Tao seeks absolute control over every portion of power. To mobilize all the power to confront the enemy with a single thought. Luo Feng pondered. On the basis of absolute control, the current energy reserve is already at the limit. Any larger, and it would begin to lose control. No need to comprehend a pure, primordial life Tao, just comprehending this form of life power feels not difficult. Luo Feng was quite interested and began to analyze and study it. In the origin continent origin world, in an ancient cave mansion in Huyang City. A tall, burly man opened his eyes in a daze, looking around. This was the appearance of his family's cave mansion when he was young. Didn't I die? Died at the hands of Sang Shuiyun. Shang Qianyang murmured to himself. Back then, he used his life to confirm that Sang Shuiyun's true identity was Divine Monarch Shuiyun, and also left a karmic tracing order for the Marquis of Zhujiang's side, to ensure the tracking of Divine Monarch Shuiyun. How am I still alive? Reincarnated? No, even among the Marquis in the primal chaos realm, only a very few can reincarnate and still retain memory. Shang Qianyang appeared slightly confused. Brother Shang. A voice sounded. Shang Qianyang looked to his side, and a black-clothed, black-haired man appeared there. However, there was a pair of dark golden sharp horns on his forehead, slightly altered in appearance. It was exactly how Luo Feng looked when he initially crossed the Samsara Channel and first arrived at the land of origin. Brother Luo He. Shang Qianyang immediately recognized his friend, but that brother Luo He before him was vastly different from the one in his memory. That invisible aura even surpassed the mysteries of the operation of the heaven and earth rules. As an artifact refining master, in his perception, the aura of his friend brother Luo He was higher and more profound than heaven and earth. Brother Luo He, what's going on? I remember, I died. Shang Qianyang looked at Luo Feng. You indeed died, you have been dead for 10,000 epochs. Luo Feng said with a smile, I fished you out from the river of time and space, from a past timeline, and brought you to the present, extending your life. Shang Qianyang was a bit dazed. The river of time and space. Fished out from a past timeline? I know there are 125 lives you cared about the most that have passed away. I have also resurrected them one by one. Luo Feng smiled as he pointed toward a garden in the cave mansion. In the open area of the garden, over 100 figures appeared out of thin air, each slightly dazed, looking around curiously. Shang Qianyang looked on in disbelief at those 125 figures. There was his wife, his young children, parents who had long since passed, the elder brother who took care of him, companions who lived and died with him, fellow Taoists who researched artifact refining with him, the most fond and regrettable disciple. Throughout his long life, those regretful existences, each came back to life. He once felt that the world was vast, yet he walked alone between heaven and earth. At this moment, intense emotions filled his heart, and he even felt a bit apprehensive. Isn't this an illusory realm? Shang Qianyang worriedly thought that this might be a grand illusion, having once been deceived by Dream Flower Tower Master through an illusory realm. Qianyang. A distant woman saw Shang Qianyang and called out excitedly. Hearing this familiar voice, Shang Qianyang's eyes suddenly became moist. Go ahead. Luo Feng smiled, good to reunite with family and friends. With that, Luo Feng's figure disappeared without a trace. At that moment, Shang Qianyang realized that his friend Luo He, whom he met in Huyang City, must have become an immensely great being, beyond what he could imagine. Luo Feng remained hidden, no longer disturbing them. Watching Shang Qianyang and his friends and family reunite with excitement, he couldn't help but smile. The meaning of resurrection lies right before the eyes. Brother Shang, my only friend during the eternal true God stage. Enjoy these days well. In the future, there will be more matters to trouble you with. Luo Feng watched from a distance, having a great admiration for Shang Qianyang's character. Shang Qianyang had compassion for the weak and sacrificed his life for all beings. With this virtue, Luo Feng decided to give Shang Qianyang a position in the future management of the factions on the Origin continent. The core of the Origin continent factions includes Morosa, Mountain Sitting Guest, and Master Emperor Chu, along with other various management personnel such as Emperor Qing, Emperor Chu Yu, Mo Yu Qingyang, Shang Qianyang, and others. Land of Origin, Council Hall. Around the Dark Realm Crystal Round Table, 8 lords, Yuan, Jin, Wulan, Minghuang, Nai Jiyu, Starlight, Mo Man, and Luo Feng, were already seated. When reclaiming territories, did everyone encounter trouble? Yuan asked. No, Wulan shook his head. Just a word, and they willingly retreated. Jin grinned. Starlight frowned and said, I am currently pursuing Mogus. During our conflict with the innate primordial camp, Mogus devoured the souls of more than 6 million source worlds. And that's him conserving food. He begged for mercy from me. I ignored him and continued the pursuit. As of now, I've eliminated 89% of his power. Mogus. Hatred flickered in Yuan's eyes. I really want to destroy him completely. Jin was rather unwilling. Luo Feng's expression was also grave. In the infinite primordial space, there are more than 200 ancestor-level entities. Among them, Mogus is one of the top-tier beings, an undying and immortal entity adept in soul power. In terms of threat and destructiveness, he surpasses more than half of the cultivator lords. Before Starlight was born, no one could threaten him in the slightest. He truly did as he pleased. He didn't involve himself in other disputes, nor did he require any other resources, needing only one type of resource, a massive amount of souls. He excelled in soul power, and he could hide within countless life forms in the infinite primordial space, never to be killed or eradicated completely. The innate primordial camp couldn't deal with Mogus, rather, they recruited him, actively providing a certain amount of innate primordial life for him to devour. In the infinite primordial space, in terms of the number of creatures, there were many innate primordial lives, but even more cultivators in source worlds. Within the braided cage, the cultivators exhibited extraordinary wisdom, and their soul's essence was quite exquisite, also being one of Mogus's favorite delicacies. However, the cultivator camp absolutely prohibited Mogus from devouring countless cultivator souls. Once he acted, the cultivators would pursue him at any cost. In the expanse outside the cultivator territory, those source worlds had long been ravaged by some ancestors, with few creatures being nurtured. In contrast, in the cultivator territory's 3,600 world groups, the endless source worlds housed a vast number of cultivators, something that had long whetted Mogus's appetite. This time, with the eruption of war between the two camps, Starlight's avatar had to confront the innate primordial camp directly, and Mogus immediately infiltrated, devouring one source world after another. He devoured to his heart's content. The moment the war ended, Starlight Lord began the pursuit. In all space-time, pursuing in all dimensions. Any place hiding Mogus's power would be attacked. His power can merge into countless weaker creatures. Yuan shook his head. Only Starlight, observing past and future, can locate countless traces of his lurking. This time, I plan to eradicate at least 99% of him, keeping him in a prolonged recovery period, so he never dares to come to our cultivator territory again. Starlight Lord spoke coldly. He dared only claim to eradicate 99%. As an undying and immortal entity, the more minuscule remnants become increasingly hard to eradicate as time goes on. Unless one day, all life forms across all source worlds, all high-level, world-level primordial life are eradicated, rendering Mogus devoid of any avatars, there's hope to eradicate him completely. His body is composed of soul power, Yuan said. Once 99% is eradicated, recovery will be exceedingly slow. Before Starlight became a lord, we could do nothing about Mogus, Wulan sighed. That period was truly terrible. For a time, the cultivator camp could only negotiate with Mogus. Only after Starlight became a lord did they have the confidence to pursue him. With Mogus being undying and immortal, there's no other way but to hurt him, making him never dare to venture into our cultivator territory again, Yuan said. Have other lords encountered trouble? I have also encountered some trouble, Lord Mo Man spoke. The Lotus Prison Mountain Master has completely entrenched himself. I can do nothing against him. Lotus Prison Mountain Master? Everyone present frowned slightly. Those familiar with history would know. The cultivator camp was initially very weak before gradually expanding its territories. The present 3,600 world groups had a region once known as the Lotus Prison Cluster, where the Lotus Prison Mountain Master was deeply rooted over eons, completely dominating that world group, and he and his kin freely consumed the source world origins. Later, the cultivator camp expelled them. A space-time net established over the scope of the 3,600 world groups deterred any ancestors from trespassing. Seizing the chance while the two great camps were at war, the Lotus Prison Mountain Master came back. Lord Mo Man shook his head. Though I can suppress him, I cannot defeat him. I'll go with you, Yuan said. With Brother Yuan's help, he will surely flee in panic, Mo Man nodded. The Lotus Prison Mountain Master, a being comparable to the Infinite Ancestor and Silent Extinction Ancestor, although not achieving undying and immortal status. Cultivator's 7 lords had tried before to kill him, but to no avail. Barring Yuan, when the other lords besieged, the Lotus Prison Mountain Master can root himself there, enduring all attacks. Only Yuan's formation considerably restrains the Lotus Prison Mountain Master, preventing him from borrowing substantial power from the primordial space. When facing Yuan, the only option for the Lotus Prison Mountain Master is to flee. Brother Luo Feng, is your true body constantly in the Blood Crane territory? Jin asked, would that weak force, the Blood Crane territory, dare to tangle with our cultivator camp? Among the more than 200 ancestor-level entities in the infinite primordial space, strength varies, and simply having a seat in the land of eternity only signifies undying and immortal. It does not necessarily equate to strength. Truly powerful entities number only a little over 30. Especially those who disdain to join the innate primordial camp and dare to face numerous dangers alone, they all have enough confidence. Mogus can barely rank in the top 10 in the infinite primordial space in terms of strength. The Lotus Prison Mountain Master can also rank in the top 30. The 3 from the Blood Crane territory are far inferior in comparison. Don't underestimate the Blood Crane territory. The Blood Lord, Crane Lord, and Shadow Lord of the Blood Crane territory have extremely strong survival abilities. When the 3 of them team up, they can be quite troublesome, Yuan said with a smile. Once they encounter trouble, they will hide within the mysterious land of Blood Crane territory, using the advantage of the terrain, making them more troublesome than the Lotus Prison Mountain Master. Only when the 3 lords of the Blood Crane territory join forces within the range of the mysterious land do they dare to say they are more troublesome than the Lotus Prison Mountain Master. Without the mysterious land, the 3 from the Blood Crane territory are significantly weaker. Brother Luo Feng, do you need help? Ming Huang asked. No need. Luo Feng smiled, I am somehow destined with this Blood Crane territory. I am somewhat confident that I can refine this mysterious land. The 7 lords all stared at Luo Feng. Refining a mysterious land? Are you confident? Jin couldn't help but ask, his eyes full of envy. Brother Luo Feng, you've just become a lord, right? Wulan said, I've been searching for so long in the infinite primordial space, and I haven't found a suitable mysterious land for myself. Ming Huang, Nai Ji Yu, and the others all had complex feelings. Even as lords, they also desire to control a mysterious land. Firstly, to utilize part of the mysterious land power to enhance themselves, gaining some strength. Secondly, within the boundaries of the mysterious land, their strength will be extremely strong. Among us 8 lords, only Yuan and Starlight each control a mysterious land, Nai Ji Yu sighed. Luo Feng, you've just broken through to Lord, and you've found a mysterious land you can refine. I didn't expect myself to be so compatible with the Blood Crane territory either, Luo Feng laughed. Starlight laughed beside him. When I first comprehended the second kind of primordial level Tao, I was fortunate to discover the mysterious land, Time Star. Time Star is the smallest known mysterious land, even smaller than the Council Hall. I've been to Time Star once. It's really too small. When I sit there, I occupy 1/10 of the Time Star's area, Jin said. This Time Star is always drifting through different timelines, drifting to the past, drifting to the future. Its ability to go to the past and future is still inferior to mine, Starlight said with a faint smile. However, it is indestructible. It enhances some of my protective means. Mysterious lands generally integrate several kinds of highest-level powers, and there are always those we are not skilled in, Yuan said, so once refined, using part of the mysterious land's power is always beneficial to oneself. Luo Feng nodded. Luo Feng, how long do you estimate to refine it? Yuan asked. I estimate several epochs, Luo Feng said. So fast. The 7 lords were a bit surprised. They remembered how Luo Feng used the power-breaking technique, understanding the primordial life and death Tao in such a short time within the braided cage. Now that he has become a lord, refining a mysterious land in several epochs was something they could comprehend. In the blink of an eye, 3 epochs had passed. Yuan and Lord Mo Man cooperated once again to expel the formidable Lotus Prison Mountain Master. To the Lotus Prison Mountain Master, the former Lotus Prison Cluster was his home, surrounded by countless source worlds which were the food for his race, but the cultivator camp was too dominating, not allowing him to stay in this area. Starlight Lord continued to pursue the hidden power of Mogus across all times and spaces. Deep within the Blood Crane territory, Luo Feng sat cross-legged in the endless Blood Sea with the Blood Lord, Crane Lord, and Shadow Lord frequently coming to observe, yet they were unable to stop Luo Feng's comprehension of the Blood Crane territory origin. This is the highest level power, blood power. Luo Feng initially understood 70 to 80% upon first contemplating it, but to completely master this type of highest level life force, even with Luo Feng's comprehension and insight, it still took more than 3 epochs. The difference between blood power and the primordial life and death Tao is indeed significant. At this moment, Luo Feng fully understood how vast the difference was between highest level power and the Tao of the highest level. With blood power, one can form a physical body, kill enemies, form domains, and restore the power of companions, among other means. The body formed by blood power is of Blood Sea appearance, but the Blood Sea is not large, with an energy reserve about 60% that of Luo Feng's. Only those who comprehend the primordial life Tao and create the most suitable life form according to it can possess the largest life form in the infinite primordial space. Just one blood power falls short in energy reserve compared to Luo Feng. Its energy reserve is 60% of Luo Feng's, its movement speed much slower than Luo Feng's, its life spirituality at 80% of Luo Feng's power, its recovery ability at 50%, its ability to kill enemies only at 30% of Luo Feng's. You must know, Luo Feng's capability to kill enemies is only at an average level among lords, aside from the Great Destruction technique. The ability of blood power to kill enemies at only 30% would be considered quite mediocre among ancestors. This type of blood power would only weaken Luo Feng. This is why the cultivator lords do not cultivate same category highest level powers. Because they master the Tao of the same category, a singular type of power is meaningless to them. And other category highest level powers, the lords cannot comprehend. After all, it's not their strong suit. Having comprehended blood power, the next step is to refine the Blood Crane territory origin. Luo Feng was quite looking forward to it, as this was the only help blood power could provide him. This video will end here.